Hello friends, I've been gone a while. I was busy trying to learn programming so I can make $100,000 a month like Mr. President told us.
ده انا بقول لك على حاجه هتشتغلها وانت قاعد في بيتك، هتعمل لك 20-30 الف دولار في الشهر، وممكن توصل ل 100,000 دولار في الشهر.
Stop saying dumbass things. You're not even making sense.
I'm over here stroking my dick. I got lotion on my dick right now. I'm just stroking my shit.
But then the power kept cutting and my PC caught fire because the AC isn't working, so I figured I'll just go back to making videos. Let's address the elephant in the room. That's the president's wife. Next to her is the fact that this video is audio only. That is because, as I mentioned, the AC is not working and my room is what feels like 50 degrees Celsius.
This is fine.
So I would absolutely die of heat stroke if I even considered putting on the costume. So until either the summer fucks off or Egypt some fucking hell gets its shit together, we make do with what we have. There's some catching up to be done. We'll be going over some shit from late April. Yes, April again.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
That month was a fucking mess. And from May, let's kick things off with updates and follow-ups, the first of which is on Sharif Gaber. A quick recap for those unfamiliar: he's some sort of activist who got his ass arrested in Egypt in the past while he was in college for arguing with a professor over gay rights or some liberal shit like that. Which I respect, but I can't help but disagree with because he was fighting the system and society while being completely within the reach. Some shenanigans later, he did get out of Egypt and attain refugee status in Germany and continues to do his activism thing online with his face and name, mind you. The story should have ended there, but he came back to Egypt like a complete fucking dumbass and got put under first stay, which I have talked about previously. The news today is that he's been sentenced to 5 years in prison for inciting atheism. Which doesn't exist in the written law, obviously, but you should know by now that the written law is only a fraction of the actual set of rules here. And this anti-religion bullshit only applies to Islam, of course, because they're the majority. If you wanted to talk shit about literally any other belief, you could. I honestly don't sympathize with Sharif anymore. I don't remember if I've already said this, but by coming back for round 2 in a clearly losing fight that he got out of by the skin of his teeth in the first place, he's just asking for trouble, and he got what he asked for.
I slammed my penis in the car door.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Enjoy your stay, and good luck getting refuge a second time after this stunt. And while on the topic, your jaw would drop to your feet if you knew the amount of people who fall victim to these bullshit rules about values, traditions, and customs. The majority of whom are content creators, the latest of which being this chick over here, Hadir Abdelrazek, who got pulled out of her home for the content she makes that is apparently too immoral and vulgar. Next is a personal experience with how you're not allowed to go up the Cairo Tower alone anymore after repeated suicides from the top. We've already talked about this before. The last image imprinted in my mind of my beloved country, Egypt. I was on my way to finish my papers in Cairo. After I finished, I went to see the beauty of my country before I leave and decided to go to the Cairo Tower to see it from the top. They caught me and interrogated me because I was going there alone. 8 whole hours locked up in the courtyard of a building in Tahrir with absolutely no right or official capacity. Insults to my parents and a ton of humiliation, all because I went to the tower alone. I'll never forget this day. It's as if they're telling me, go out and don't you dare think of coming back. And attached with it is a pic of bro giving the finger to Egypt from the plane window, and the way he's doing it, that's how you know he's a real Egyptian. Up next, and perhaps the most infuriating, remember Naira Salah, the poor girl who got blackmailed by nudes and pushed to suicide, or perhaps even murdered? Well, here's what the state has decided for the perpetrators. The North Sinai Criminal Court has sentenced Shuruq Muhammad Shahata and Taha Muhammad Ibrahim to 3 years in prison for causing the suicide of Nayera El-Zoghbi under charges of written threats of exposing personal life matters accompanied by a felony request and the violation of the victim's personal life. 3 years. They threatened her with nudes that they allegedly took of her without her knowledge over a petty argument in which they were also at fault, and it's very likely she didn't even commit suicide, rather got poisoned by them when the case blew up, and all they get is 3 fucking years. This tweet just about sums up the colorful rant I would have said about this otherwise. I really need someone to explain to me how come a girl gets 7 to 10 years because of a TikTok video because of your Salafist family values, while someone who killed his wife gets 2 years and blackmail and exposing private photos that led to suicide gets them 3 years. Like, what kind of fucking judicial system is this? I don't get it. I'm not sure which wife murder is mentioned here. There's way too many at this point to know without a name or location. Next, power cuts are still wreaking havoc on the roads. a car hit the railing on a bridge and caught fire thanks to low visibility because the power was out at the time. A realist says power isn't going back to normal and we have to find solutions to adapt, such as generators. You have to get LED lenses installed on your car in any respectable workshop to turn the road ahead of you to daytime anywhere you go. I did this to my car and paid a hefty sum just so I can see everything on the road while driving. And while this is fair, I think the problem with having such bright lights on your car is that you're gonna blind other drivers, and if everyone does this, well, I think it's even worse than driving in the dark, or with low light, because not only will you still not see shit, your eyes are gonna hurt, and take a while to readapt every time a car drives past you on the other lane. Another guy shares a very Egyptian experience he's had with this. I had an accident on the Ismailia road when the power cuts started on the road. Some guy was driving a motorbike in the wrong direction and didn't have his lights on. While I was coming out of a farm and focusing on the direction of the road, he took my whole bumper with him. Anyway, I got it fixed and didn't notice that the license plate was pretty much blacked out because of a black scrape on it from where he hit the bumper. And I got fined for that. So the government causes you to have an accident and then fine you for its outcome. Peak Egypt, let me tell you. The stock market is also still crying in the corner, having regular losses thanks to power cuts, among a plethora of other factors, of course, all of which are the result of our great leadership. The power company decided to reschedule power cuts during final season, so the students can have power while they take tests and have none while they prepare for them. Because, come on, it's gonna look bad if insert title was doing rounds and taking pictures with students while they are in test, and the power was out. For our sons and daughters, the students say, it has been decided to stop power cuts during tests and adjust their times to be during the times they study to ensure their future is lost. What's interesting is that the power cut company logo says, always with you, which is the same remark I've made all the way back when this shit started. I love how the logo at the top right says, always with you.
Are you sure about that?
Like, come on, when it comes to irony, the fruit in Egypt is so low-hanging you practically trip on it. The lawyer of Nayera Ashraf's killer got arrested, which is no surprise considering he even took up such a case in the first place. Couldn't find news of why he was arrested and I don't honestly care. But this guy here says he got into a fight with someone and caused him a permanent disability. He got 3 years in jail and 3 years of probation. Next, customs are somehow still finding new ways to shake you down illegally. The custom authority enacts a 371 EGP duty, equivalent to roughly $8, on every gram of gold carried by people coming in from outside. And remember the legally part, because the illegal version of airport shakedowns is coming later in the video, and you're not gonna wanna miss it, I promise. Trees are still getting systematically exterminated from our cities. You know how cold the weather in Egypt is, so we need to remove the trees so we can get the sun directly, since it's so weak in the summer. Medication is still in crisis, worse than before if anything, actually. This is a conversation someone posted that she had with a pharmacy. Good evening, ma'am. Dr. Yusuf here. Hello, Dr. Yusuf. Sorry, ma'am, this item is unavailable from the producing company. There's an alternative with the same active ingredient. Does that work? One sec, I'll check with the doctor. Okay. Then there's the medicine name. Is that available? Good evening, ma'am. Dr. Manar here. Sorry, ma'am, this item is unavailable from the producing company. This message is forwarded from her doctor. Tell them you want amoxicillin clavulanic acid 1 gram. Is this available, doctor? There's 1 strip of Curam 1 gram. Okay, Dr. Yusuf mentioned an alternative to augmentin with the same substance. Like, I want an antibiotic that's a whole box, not a single strip. Curam is the same active ingredient, but we only have 1 strip because it's unavailable from the company. On your way to the pharmacy, tell the doctor to prescribe you 4 or 5 alternatives so you're prepared for this shit. Sorry, the government is too busy to fix the most important crisis currently. We're at the very predictable point where even if you still have money, some fucking how, there is nothing to buy with that money. If you had money, something way too many people don't right now, as perfectly demonstrated by this video, a woman rummaging through trash in the back while a man steals diaper, an essential commodity that he probably can't afford. Now let's get into the actual news, the majority of which has to do with harassment and violence against women, as usual. But let's leave that for last. I'm sure many of you have heard or seen videos of the card scanner contraptions people put on ATMs, but have any of you squareheads ever thought outside the box and decided to rig the ATM itself?
Every safe's got its weak spot, right? Say you're designing a safe, where are you gonna put your weak spot?
Nowhere. I made it like
strong.
My brother was withdrawing 2k Egyptian pounds from an Alexandria bank ATM. The machine gave him 1800, so he filed a complaint to customer service, who told him they'll deduct 150 for the audit they'll do on the machine, and if it turns out he's right, they'll give him back the 150 and his 200. He said okay. 2 days later, he called them to ask, and they said they did the audit and didn't find his money.
What a twist!
Which, like, no shit, Sherlock. I don't know what the fuck bro expected. They might have even not done shit and just waited for him to call back to tell him they didn't find anything. And the way they would, like, wager with him on it like that is super sketchy. I would have just pretended the 200 fell out of my wallet and moved on, cut my losses.
You know how they say it's been a pleasure? It hasn't.
I can't stop laughing. My brother's saying he wishes he had just let the 200 get stolen. But it's strange, how does a machine give out missing money? It seems it's a regular thing because they had a protocol on how to deal with it when he talked to them. And while we're on the topic of getting robbed, let me tell you the most creative scam I've ever seen in my life. And of course it had to happen at Cairo airport. I swear that place is about as lawless as it gets. It terrifies me. And also, of course, it had to be an Egyptian living abroad, because those are human piggy banks in the eye of the government, from the lowest Amin Shorta all the way to Mr. President himself. A European of Egyptian origins documents how he got robbed in Cairo airport by airport security while leaving Egypt.
إلى نقيب شرطة الإكس راي بمطار القاهرة الدولي اللي كان موجود في الخدمة امبارح 16 مايو 2024 اللي بيقول لي أنا بشتغل بروفيشنال وهو لص وحرامي. اللص الحرامي يتزعم عصابة في مطار القاهرة، لا أعرف اسمه ولكن أوصافه هو نقيب الشرطة قاعد بيراقب ماكينات الإكس راي، وبتقول له معاك كام؟ بيقول لك معاك كام؟ تقول له 9000، يقول لك تعالى نعدهم، يبعت معاك محمد تروح تعدهم مع محمد على بعد 15 متر، يحط لك في الجهة ديت 100 ايرو وفي الجهة التانية 150 ايرو، ويحط فلوس مصري في النص. هو الفلوس ايه؟ منقيينها 5 جنيهات، يعني في حجم اليوروات تقريبا، في حجم ال50 يورو او ال50 يورو بتغطي سن عليها. انا عايز اقول له انت مش بروفيشنال، انت لسه خد ال3 ضبابير دول وحط يا لسه يا زعيم عصابة. مش ده عمل تعمله مع واحد عنده 64 سنة قد جدك؟ عيب. وبعدين انا اجنبي داخل بجواز سفر اوروبي وما عنديش جنسية مصري ومعايا تأشيرة دخول. عيب يا حقير يا واطي. عيب تشوهوا سمعة مصر، عيب تشوهوا سمعة البلد. المنظومة الشرطية كلها في مصر زي ما قلت وبقول دايما تحتاج إلى هيكلة كاملة. الجيش المصري عنده انضباط مفايمين الإزاز من قدام، عاملين نفسكم دولة داخل دولة. يا حرامية يا لصوص يا حرامية. جايبين عربياتكم منين؟ من سرقة الدولارات وسرقة اليوروات في مطار القاهرة، أو تشتغل شرطة مرافق أو بتاع تجملك برضه قرشين. شغالين بالنصب ومحترفين سرقة، محطوطين في جهاز عشان الناس تثق. يقول لك شرطة مين؟ شرطة مين يا أبو شرطة؟ يا نكوبة أنت يا أبو دبورة حرامي. تقول لي بشتغل بروفيشنال عشان تسرقني، اقول لك نعدهم هنا تقول لي بشتغل بروفيشنال وانت. مرحبا، عائد للتو من ام الدنيا، جمهورية مصر العربية، الدين والتدين، الوحدات الامنية، وزارة الداخلية. دخلت المطار، اول حاجه دي تذكرتي اهي، دي تذكرتي اللي جاي بيها على الخطوط السويسريه في الليل، لسه واصل من حوالي نص ساعه زيورخ سويسرا. في المطار كان معايا 10000 يورو، 10000 يورو في المطار. قالوا لي لا 10000 دولار او ما يعادلها. اتصلت على الشخص اللي وصلني وهو من يعني قريب زوجتي، ورجعت معاه 1000 يورو وخدت 9000 يورو. في نقيب شرطة هناك قاعد كده زي ما يكون بيلعب كمال أجسام، نقيب شرطة كان في الدينست ده. قال لي هو اللي رجعني بالفلوس الأول، وبعدين رجع لما جيت أنا تاني قال لي أوكي نعدهم، تروح مكنة العد. بعت معايا واحد نروح مكنة العد جنب منه، هم عصابة متفقين مع بعض. المهم انا بقى يعني في الامان، انا مع الشرطه المصريه ورايح المكان العد بتاعهم. عملت ايه الشرطه المصريه بقى؟ الفلوس اهي، فطبعا انا واخدها من الشرطه مآمن. جيت البيت افتحها لقيت هنا 100 يورو و50 يورو، وحاطين لي الباقي كله جنيهات مصريه من جوه، كله جنيهات مصريه من جوه. هذه هي وزاره الداخليه والشرطه المصريه، هذه هي وزاره الداخليه والشرطه المصريه. نقيب يوسف باشا معوج قاعد هناك في الدينست ده، ودي التذكره بتاعتي، وجنب منه عصابه، كلها عصابه، كلهم عصابه، كلهم عصابه. انا بقى مآمن بقى، انا يعني مع راجل شرطه وبعتني للبنك وفي الاخر بلد وعمري ما ادخلها تاني البلد دي، عمري ما ادخلها تاني ابدا ابدا ابدا. سرقه علني، ومن وزاره الداخليه، ضابط نقيب في وزاره الداخليه مشغل معاه عصابه. انا ما اعرفش اسمه، بس هم لو يشوفهم بالتيكت ده يعرفوا مين اللي كان قاعد على الاكس راي اللي بتشوف الحاجات اللي داخله جوه. نقيب شرطه اخر مسخره. هنشرها على اليوتيوب وهنشرها على التيك توك، حتى الانترنت لما تيجي تبص على جوجل تدور على مباحث المطار او ما بتعرفش لا تطلع لهم عنوان ولا تطلع لهم اي شيء. بس اوكي انتوا عملتوا معايا كده انتظروا بقى الفضايح. حاجه اخر مسخره، ده يسيء لسمعه مصر.
I have to say points for creativity. If only that potential was used for good, huh? This is what happens when you have no structure. The higher-ups are all fine dining and the lower ranks are left to pick up crumbs however the fuck they can whenever they want. And when all is said and done, the bill is the citizens to pay. And while we were at Cairo airport, here's a fun little video a guy from the Gulf made.
عمار يا مصر عمار، المية أغلى من الكابتشينو. طبعا في المطار، أنا أتكلم عن المطار. يعني هنا الكابتشينو 118 جنيه، الموية ب 174. أنا مستغرب والله، يعني في أسعار يعني ممكن لو نقلت هذا 250 جنيه وهذا 100 جنيه ممكن مقبولة، بس تخلي المية أغلى من القهوة.
I bet if the officials in charge saw this, they would raise both anyway. Now let's talk about how everyone tries to cash out on the chaos. One resourceful duo decided to take advantage of the fact that they drive an ambulance and use it as a mobile drug distribution center, which I assume they also get from their medical work.
بيوزعوا مخدرات دليفري بعربية إسعاف في الجيزة. الإدارة العامة لمكافحة المخدرات جالها معلومات إن في مسعف بيستغل عربية الإسعاف اللي بيشتغل عليها في توزيع مواد وأقراص مخدرة على المدمنين في نطاق محافظة الجيزة. عملوا تحريات واتأكدوا من المعلومات وراحوا عاملين كمين نجح في إلقاء القبض على المسعف والسائق داخل عربية الإسعاف ومعاهم كمية من المواد المخدرة. اعترف المسعف بتوزيع المخدرات على المتعاطين والمدمنين في منطقة الهرم، واستغل عربية الإسعاف كستار لنشاطه المشبوه. تم تحريز المخدرات المضبوطة وتحرر محضر بالواقع واختاروا النيابة العامة للتحقيق. فكرة بره الصندوق.
Speaking of ambulances, I've always said that if you don't want to end up needing one while you visit Egypt, you better pick out where you eat carefully.
Oh, hey, babe. He's not here anymore. He's dead.
But at this point, I'm inclined to say, just don't eat out. Period. At least not sensitive stuff like meats and eggs. before you get too excited about the arrests, let me tell you this looks like a typical case of big players failing to reach an agreement. Because shit like this happens all the time anyway, but we never hear about it. And this backs it up further. What's strange is that they don't announce the names of suspects in important cases like this, but on the other hand, cases that only concern the people involved, the names make rounds on all sites and channels. Importation papers are known on the government customs systems. Who bought, shipped, and paid, it's all known. And if laws were generally sparsely applied, they don't even exist to you if you're a celebrity or if you know important people.
فانا رايح النيابه عندي 200 نواب عادي كده واتنازل. ايوه فرحت هناك حبيبتي لقيته طلع عليا والله وربنا حاسبني على الفهم شكله سكران. والله طالع بيقول لي كده بصبعه انت يا اخو اللي انا
وخبطه سكران، خبطه شارب، خبطه مش واعي لنفسه.
ده شكل تليفون اخويا يبقى شكل الجثه عامل ازاي؟
براءة عندها من الكلمة بجد.
حبيبي يا عصام الف مبروك البراءة، وعصام النهارده انتصر يا جماعة.
اللي قدامه ده ايه؟ هو حشرة؟ والاخر يطلع بكفالة كمان.
Sadly, this is not exclusive to Egypt. I mean, look at people like Dan Schneider. It just happens to be even worse here as a natural direct consequence to everything being worse here anyway. Fuel shortages are getting worse, as usual. The 5th day in a row, the boats in Domyat with no diesel. Fishing boats are stopped next to fuel stations due to a shortage of diesel, and with it, the fishing work. And amidst such conditions, when a pipe bursts, you bet people are gonna rush to it like ants to honey, or flies to shit. In this weather and sun, I don't know if I'd be so down to stand in diesel like that. I just grab what I can and run. But then again, at this point I think dying is about as good of an outcome as going home with some extra fuel to use or sell. And speaking of unusual stuff people do when things get rough, most of the railing on a bridge in Giza got stolen.
الله أكبر عليكم شوية عيال حرامية ملهمش حل. هم يا رجال كمل السور كله، ما بقاش في سور خلاص. ما بقاش في سور. أهو يا خرابي يا امه سرقوا السور كله اهو تم سرقه السور كامل بنجاح وشكرا للحراميه اهو يا رجاله ما بقاش في سور خلاص، السور راح عند عم منصور اهو حتى اللي طالع من تحت اهو سارقين السور برضه اهو.
It's no secret that Egypt Air is one of the worst airlines you could have the displeasure of flying on. They're overpriced, their service is shit, and worst of all, it's an Egypt-based company, so you know it's gonna suck. Like, I don't even need to tell you what happened, it literally has Egypt in its name. Egypt Air's employees are telling me, sorry, your luggage will be 2 days late, you can try to borrow your sister's clothes. Abnormal levels of bullshit, it feels like we're chilling at home, not in arrivals. Now, this most likely is just a case of this specific employee being an unprofessional piece of shit, but the thing is, this is too common in Egypt. People chime in to help, however. By the way, anything you buy while the luggage is missing, you have the right to send the bills to the company and charge them for it, especially clothes and personal items. And the employee is being ridiculous. Instead of telling you you can take the price of the clothes you urgently bought, she's telling you to borrow your sister. Is this in Egypt Air's terms and condition? No, it's in the law. They have to. While I wouldn't be too excited about anything that has the words law and Egypt in it.
Miss me with that gay shit. What gay shit? The law?
Maybe this is different since it's an international field and shit. I don't know. I hope so. God. First the shit in Cairo airport and now this. As if trying to escape this hellhole wasn't stressful enough as it is. The government is still not done fucking the education in what's left of its ass.
Stop! He's already dead!
Deputy Abdel Min'im Imam to the Minister of Higher Education. There are economy and political science graduates working in call centers. What are we gonna do about these theoretical colleges? Don't we have enough people in arts and education faculties? Can we merge our colleges and save our youth? Which just goes to show how detached from reality this type of people are, because the only reason there are so many people in these colleges is because of the way the system works, which is making certain fields entirely inaccessible to people with average or low grades in the last year of high school. And
poo-poo's out, huh? And then they eat the poo-poo.
These people, when they don't get what they wanted, they just go to whatever is left open to them, among which, you guessed it, are arts and education. This is also why Commerce College is called the People's College, or Kulit al-Shab, because it's arguably the one that offers the best future out of the lower end colleges, and therefore the most crowded. I've seen ridiculous numbers. And of course, the Minister of Snoop Dogg Education liked the sound of this.
You didn't like the sound of that. Now did ya?
Yeah, I have actually.
There will no longer be something called a law graduate only or arts only. We are currently working on new colleges that don't have specializations like arts. Whatever the fuck that means. Guess we'll see soon enough. As if the dependable hours system, which is a very obvious money grab they introduced a couple of years ago, wasn't bad enough. The power cuts are now extending over to tourism sector, despite the government's initial promise not to do that, saying quote unquote these are areas that contribute to the national income and cutting the power there would hurt the country. Because cutting it elsewhere definitely isn't hurting the fucking country. Then again, they promised this shit was for 3 months only. 10 months ago. Go figure, I guess. And fuck yourself while you're at it. Walid al-Battuti, former consultant of the Minister of Tourism, in a tour with an American group in Dandara Temple, the power went out and it was scary for the tourists. They told us it's load shedding and all normal, and we use flashlights.
نحن بنعمل قدر المستطاع على توفير الموارد اللازمة التي تمكن الحكومة من الانتهاء من تخفيف الأحمال. الدولة مدركة لصعوبة هذا الأمر وما يمثله من إثقال على كاهل المواطنين. اجتماعات متواصلة ورئيس مجلس الوزراء حريص كل الحرص على الانتهاء من تلك المسألة وإن شاء الله يعني بنأمل إنه خلال الفترة المقبلة تكون هناك يعني جهود إيجابية وجهود يتم الإعلان عنها لانتهاء من تخفيف الأحمال.
They don't give a fuck, obviously. If they did, there are a ton of other things they could do and things they could stop doing to improve tourism, such as to stop fucking tearing down sites. This is just one of thousands of ancient tombs and heritage icons torn to shreds to make way for this or that bullshit project, road or bridge or whatever other concrete abomination they've been building. This is still ongoing. I've talked about this a bunch of times before. The mindset is that anything that is not pharaonic is expendable and doesn't qualify as history. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. Pharaonic shit is cool and I respect how iconic it is, but it is the most overhyped and oversold heritage I've ever seen in my life. Egypt history has way cooler shit to offer, and so do many other nations. And also the pyramids area is a dumpster fire. If the aliens who built them came back and saw what we've done with them, they'll probably vaporize us all. Meanwhile, the bullshit projects are going strong. The new administrative CBT
cock and ball torture
is getting even more useless shiny features. Ah yes, eco-friendly cars in the country where no more than 10 trees are allowed to exist within 5 square kilometers of each other. And they painted them dark grey too, which is gonna do wonders for efficiency on cooling inside them as they drive in the middle of the desert. Not to mention the possibility of one of the batteries catching fire, seeing how fucking hot it is. And more importantly, the same issue the monorail line had is that A, nobody fucking lives there to begin with to need this, and B, the classes that could even afford to live there all have cars and will not be using public transport. And the city's car-centric design supports this even more, being a crude mashup of American suburbs and Dubai's glass high-rises. The next bright idea is a hanging mall in Boursaid, because if there's anything Egypt doesn't have, it's land.
يا جماعة 95% من مصر صحراء فاضية مفيش فيها حاجة.
So the poor officials had to suspend shit in the air now. Also, I don't know if Boursaid is the best location for it. It's like the Florida of Egypt. Seriously, look at this shit. How the fuck does an obelisk catch fire? In an effort to cheer people up, the army decided to organize weddings for some students who can't afford it themselves, because that is definitely the army's job, unlike securing the border and helping with the literal wars currently taking place on 2 of our 3 borders. Oh no. They just do business here.
Money!
In an effort to solve the medication crisis, instead of, fixing the economy and opening importation so producers could get producing again, they decided to start recycling expired medication using radiation. The Ministry of Health collaborates with the Atomic Energy Authority to recycle expired medical items after sterilizing it with gamma rays, which would save 400 to 500 million Egyptian pounds worth of items instead of terminating it, not to mention saving foreign currency and reducing waste, according to sources within the ministry. Now, hear me out, okay? I'm not one of those idiots who see the word radiation and freak out. I'm fully aware of the extent of its application in industry and how safe it is. But when the word radiation is in the same sentence with the word Egypt, I think we should all be a little worried. Not to mention the questionable effectiveness of this procedure altogether. To my knowledge, when medicine expires, it's because its chemical composition has changed. Radiation can't just magically undo that, I'm pretty sure. But sure, pop off, king. I'm gonna just keep some extra iodine handy, if I can find any, and get a Fallout Vol suit while I'm at it. Now let's get into the worse news. She fell on the people. The moment a lady fell from the 4th floor in the 10th of Ramadan district. The video may be disturbing, so skip to the timestamp here if you don't want to see it. Someone said, no, she didn't just fall, her husband was beating her, and one of the people she fell on died, and the other is in bad condition. 2 dead because of a criminal piece of shit. I don't know how true this is, but judging by the video, I could totally believe the second part. And for the first part, just the fact that this is in Egypt, and that the report was from Cairo 24, is enough to convince me of it. The next story is about organ trading from Shubra El Khema in Cairo. Absolutely deplorable and horrific, but sadly it's not new. Someone was wondering the same thing as me. Isn't organ extraction supposed to be done by a doctor with strict conditions for preservation with special tools so it remains fit for transplant? The report makes it sound like a chicken shop, and the organs they get are gonna be made into sausage and shit. This goes against science and logic. And after getting the answer, I think we would have been better off not wondering. The main goal is to get views for the video. This is what's profitable for them, goddamn them. Which explains why he would even record it. Either that or he just enjoys it so much that he wants to document his handiwork for his own viewing pleasure. It comes as no surprise that red rooms and snuff film streams take place in Egypt. I mean, it's the perfect spot. Little to no law, too many people that nobody will come looking for, and the general poverty and lack of awareness makes it too easy to lure in victims. I hate to even think about it. Moving on, a microbus fell off a ferry in Abu Ghalib in Al-Munufiyya, drowning the majority of the passengers, which were women. Miad Ramadan is a survivor of the Abu Ghalib microbus ferry incident. My sister died before my eyes and I couldn't do anything. The driver is innocent. He was defending a girl that was with us on the bus. A young man harassed a girl, and when the driver defended her, a group of guys started fighting with him. During the fight, they pushed the car into the Nile. The driver jumped in after us and saved me and 6 others. This is from Cairo 24, so I'm gonna be a little skeptical, but if this is true, then huge respect for the driver, to be honest. Both for sticking up for the girl and for saving whoever he could. And obviously my condolences to everyone affected. I genuinely can't imagine what it must have been like. Some of the comments are upset about the ferry itself. An entire budget goes to roads that serve only the admin capital and inhumane means of transport serving tens of thousands each day who are struggling to make a living, but we're building monorails and an electric train in the middle of the desert. This incident happens annually almost, each time in a different location, and every time the minister goes out saying they'll cancel ferries. Nothing new. And I can't help but agree, honestly. I mean, they clearly have the money and the means. They literally just introduced electric taxis, for fuck's sake. But what's even more infuriating is that they build bridges every fucking where. Could they seriously not just put one bridge there to replace the sketchy ass ferry? The other comments are understandably upset that the cause of this was sexual harassment. Imagine, it turns out the ferry incident where 16 girls drowned, ages 12 to 17, was caused by harassment. We are living in a massive shithole, truly the lowest. Every day our lives or our loved ones' lives are in danger because of some horny kids in the street. And while we are on the topic of harassment in transportation, Uber drivers have absolutely lost their shit. Remember when I said the incident with Habiba Shamaa was likely gonna start a trend? Well, I was fucking right, sadly.
يعني كلامها ضد كلامه. هو بيقول انا ما عملتش كده وانا نزلتها من بدري في الصحراء، وحد تاني اللي جه هي اتعصبت وشدت التليفون. ما اعرفش انهي تليفون اللي بتتكلم عليه، احنا مش عارفين هو بيقول ايه يعني. التعدي حصل والادله موجوده والقطر موجود، واحنا هنروح الجنايه بكره الطب الشرعي بالقطر. بقى قطر ظهر لانه جابوا القطر، هندخل بيه الطب الشرعي وهيجي بيه شهاده ان القطع ده بسبب الاصابات، ان حصل تعدي جسدي عليها وعندها قطع في ايدها عشان دفعت عن نفسها وقطع في وتر ايدها.
I'm glad the girl survived this time, and I hope she recovers both physically and mentally. The company did move. We've decided to suspend the driver who's accused of the kidnap and rape of Sari Awa's sister, which is fine, I guess. However, so they put the victim's sister's name and not the criminal driver's, and they only suspended him, and you still want to ride with them. The problem with boycotting them is the lack of reliable alternatives. You know, typical corporate shit. Hell, the government itself do it all the time. If I boycott Uber, how will I move around? Another application with the same drivers? Regular taxis that also have bad drivers, but I don't know their face or phone numbers. Public transport that doesn't even exist, nor is it humane or safe. A bicycle, and I'd be cycling every day from Shubra all the way to El Tagamma. Go to work in a Hajj. This is a Hajj if you're wondering. Naturally, the driver's lawyer tried to save his client by smearing the victim the one and only way Egyptians know how to. For your viewing displeasure, my client's behavior is decent and his criminal record is blank. How could a driver rape a woman near an air defense base? Do girls go to weddings in El Sheikh Zayed at midnight? Insinuating she was going to fuck someone, which is big haram, as you know. My client's car has a camera and a mic and recorded everything. The victim's sister's statement is inaccurate because she wasn't there. Nobody would kidnap and rape someone when she's the one who ordered him from the Uber app. You know, very solid points, and I'm just about sold, man. I don't condone judging people by their looks, but I mean, seriously, look at this motherfucker. Does this look like a straight lawyer to you? I would sooner believe Saul Goodman than this creature. And the people did pick some of his very solid points apart. Yeah, no problem if she's going to a wedding at midnight. And yes, it's fine if she's not going to a wedding, but anywhere else at midnight. What even is the purpose of this point? Unless you know your client is guilty anyway, so you're trying to justify for him. The order was at 9:55. What midnight? Where are the recordings? And more importantly, bro himself confessed and gave details as we saw in the report. Unless these statements from the lawyer were made before the confessions came, then it would make more sense, I guess. And what was said earlier about alternatives to Uber is true, by the way, with one such incident just taking place. The arrest of a DD driver in the 6th of October city after harassing a preparatory male student, where the student called the compound security while passing by and they caught him. Surely he was wearing revealing clothes that provoked the driver, or maybe the boy just imagined it all from the stories he reads online, and surely the press will show us the boy's photos and his clothes. Am I right, or does this happen with women only? Someone said, is there no kind developer that gets picked up by a kind businessman to make a pink taxi application for girls to use where only girls work and be done with this? This is satire, I'm pretty sure, but on the off chance is not, this is not a solution at all. In fact, it would have the opposite effect, because when they push and you budge, they'll push even harder and harder infinitely. And other people with autism like me who miss the sarcasm or are unsure of it agree. No, we want a kind person to apply unkind laws on those sons of bitches until they cut it out. But the problem won't be solved by making a ladies only metro wagon but for Uber, and get into whoever gets on a normal Uber, not the pink one, wants to be harassed. We should punish whoever does wrong and not avoid them. Otherwise they get worse. Exactly. Also, a girl could kidnap another girl like her. Very plausible. I don't get why she's so trusting with them like this. Exactly, and she could agree with another driver to make a setup. And also, a man could be riding with a male driver and get shook down. We don't leave criminals out on the street and say we'll just hide. Next is probably the most repulsive of all. This is Dahmer level shit.
سفاح التجمع لقب أطلقوا الشارع المصري على قاتل مجموعة من النساء في مصر اسمه كريم، وكانت جريمته الأخيرة اللي ألقى فيها جثة فتاة في الصحراء في بورسعيد السبب في كشف جرائمه المتسلسلة. واللي مو متابع القصة من بدايتها، فالشرطة المصرية عثرت على 3 جثث لفتيات يعني ملقاة للأسف في الصحراء يوم الجمعة، وبعد فحص الجثث تبين من آثار التعذيب أنه القاتل واحد، ومن بعد الكشف والتحري تم القبض عليه، واتضح أنه هو شاب مصري مواليد 87 خريج جامعة أمريكية وبيحمل الجنسية الأمريكية كمان، وكان بيعمل مدرس وبعدين اشتغل في التجارة، ومن شهور قليلة رجع لمصر وتم القبض عليه في إحدى حدائق الإسكندرية بعد ما كانوا لقيوه وهرب ورجع قبضوا عليه، وتمت إحالته للطب الشرعي علشان يتأكدوا من تعاطيه للمخدرات، وتم تشريح الجثث للوقوف على أسباب الوفاة. اعترافاته كانت صادمة حقيقة، فغير أنه هو بيستدرج الضحايا لمنزله وبيعتدي عليهم جنسيا وبيمارس طقوس سادية معهم وبيخليهم يتعاطوا الأيس المخدر، هو قال أنه ما يعرف عدد الفتيات اللي قتلهم، وأنه كان بيحط الجثة في حقيبة سفر وبيروح على مطعم بياكل وجبة دسمة وبعدين بيروح الصحراء بيرميها، بيرجع الحقيبة معاه علشان يحط فيها الضحية التالية. قول القاتل أنه كان بيشعر بالسعادة وقت يسمع صراخ الفتاة وقت تعذيبها بالكرباج وهي عارية، وعلشان كده كان عامل عزل الصوت في إحدى غرف شقته. وكمان تم كشف معلومات عن الفتيات مجهولات الهوية اللي لقيوهم، فواحدة منهم موظفة من مدينة نصر، والثانية ربة منزل، والثالثة طالبة جامعية. وقيل أنه الطالبة الجامعية اسمها رحمة عمرها 19 سنة استدرجها لشقته وقتلها بعد ما اعتدى عليها وعذبها، وتم تداول معلومات أنه كمان لقيوا جثة رابعة. وكل عمليات القتل اللي تكلمت عنها موثقة بالصوت والصورة من قبل القاتل. وقيل أنه الأجهزة الأمنية خلصت فحص أنه جوال القاتل، واتضح أنه كان بيصور هذه الفيديوهات باحترافية عالية علشان يستفيد منها في الدارك ويب ويبيعها بمبالغ مالية كبيرة. والتفصيل الأكثر صدمة في كل الموضوع أنه القاتل طلع بيقدم محتوى، ومو أي محتوى تعليمي لتعلم اللغة الإنجليزية على منصات السوشيال ميديا، وهذا الشيء يمكن بيثبت صحته العقلية، لأنه يعني مريض نفسي يمكن ما يقدر يقدم محتوى تعليمي ويكون متوازن يعني خلاله. فهو عنده قناة على يوتيوب، قناة تعليمية اللي هي فونكس، وعلى تيك توك عنده حساب بنفس الاسم عليه آلاف المتابعين وملايين اللايكات وملايين المشاهدات كمان. وقيل انه الغرفة اللي كان بيعمل فيها فيديوهات تعليمية هي نفسها اللي كان بيقتل فيها الفتيات.
I have no words. I mean, I'm fully aware a great deal of Egyptians would be rapists if given the chance, but this is just sociopathic, and the facade makes it even creepier. And worst of all, it's not just some horny nobody with little to no education. This is a top-class person with a foreign passport and a top college degree, and he's even a successful content creator. Like, goddamn, I guess the frequency of low-end crime of this type here makes you forget that these types do exist. Now, let's end on a brighter note. Sort of.
جريمة قتل في وسط الشارع بالمقطم، بطلتها فتاة جامعية والضحية شاب حاول التحرش بيها أمام والدها. تحريات الأجهزة الأمنية كشفت تفاصيل القصة وتبين أن المتوفى كان مع صديقه وتحرش لفظيا بطالبة جامعية كانت بتسير في الشارع برفقة والدها. الأب المسن حاول الدفاع عن بنته من تحرش الشابين، لكن الشاب القتيل تعدى عليه بالضرب المبرح، وده دفع الفتاة لأنها تخرج سلاح أبيض وتطعن الشاب عشان يسقط غارق في دمائه ويفارق الحياة. أما صديقه فهرب من مكان الحادث، وده طبقا للي نشر في صحف محلية. قوات الشرطة تلقت بلاغ بوقوع مشاجرة وسقوط قتيل، فانتقلت بسرعة لمكان الحادث وضبطت الفتاة، وتبين أنها بتدرس في جامعة خاصة بالمقطم، وتم التحفظ على جثة الشاب تحت تصرف النيابة العامة.
Fucking Queen. This is simply the only way here. And generally speaking, I think self-defense is super important, even for us dudes, especially in countries where crime is high and/or police are unreliable pieces of shit. Which is why I'm actually a Second Amendment fan. It's one of the very few things I like about America. It's gotten to a point where you cannot fix this shit except by force. I've already covered a similar incident in the past, and I still stand by what I said then. All girls should carry blades on them and know how to use them. I know I do, and I'm a guy.
I keep that thing on me. God damn it, Bobby.
Shit, in most cases she won't even have to use it. Just showing it might scare the bastards off. If the trash has to worry about a violent response from the victim, I have no doubt the rate of such crimes would drop significantly, and eventually everyone would know not to cross the line. If they won't stay at the lines by law, then let them be forced into it by fear. In my head, rapists are not even people, but since they are legally considered people, unfortunately, and thus can't just be exterminated, this is an acceptable second option.
Consider the following.
What I like about this is the number of positive responses to it, calling it what it is, self-defense and not murder. We should celebrate and honor all who helped get rid of pests. Self-defense of her and her father, great job to her. This is not a crime. A girl worth 100 men, not even 5 minutes of jail time. Self-defense, not murder. It's called self-defense. He's not a victim, he's an assailant, and this is not revenge, this is self-defense. Choose the correct words. Defending herself and her father is not revenge. Some people call out the double standard in handling a story where the guy is the one who ends up dead. Fucking strange country. An Uber driver tried to kidnap a girl and she died, so they published the victim's photo and not the driver's to protect his feelings and reputation. Now a girl defends herself and her father from a harasser and assailant, and they publish the girl's photo and not the guy. Sure, even by their rules, since she's the perpetrator in this apparently, shouldn't they hide her information and publish the victims? She looks like a fucking badass, by the way. Anyhow, kudos to this girl, and she better fucking be released, or at the very least get a light sentence, cause this is bullshit and it's about fucking time those rapey fuckers shed some blood. And that is all for today. Don't forget to do the YouTube stuff, and if you wanna help me get the fuck out of this shithole, you can do just that through the link in the description. In fact, I have some updates on how this whole escape thing is going that I'll be sharing with y'all very soon. Just gotta do a little more research first, but keep an eye out for hopefully some good news. If you have any pets, give them a boop for me. Goodbye.